In this lecture video, we're going to talk about how to solve proportions. And what a proportion is it's two ratios that are equivalent to each other. And so we're going to set them equal to each other. One of the ratios is always going to have a missing piece to it that we're going to need to calculate. And so again, a ratio is a fraction, and so we're going to set two fractions equal to each other, and when two fractions are equal to each other, we're going to solve those by cross multiplying. In the first example here, Procter & Gamble ran an ad on TV in the 1970s claiming that 4 out of 5 dentists surveyed prefer Crest toothpaste over other leading brands. The ad became a classic, and the phrase 4 out of 5 preferred has become a popular cliche in advertising, in appeals, and in one-line quips. Suppose Procter & Gamble asked 250 dentists what brand toothpaste he or she preferred, and 200 dentists responded that they prefer Crest. What is the ratio of the number of dentists who prefer Crest to the number who were asked the question? Write your answers in words and then in fraction form. So the ratio that they want us to give is the number of dentists who preferred Crest to the number who were asked the question. And so the number that preferred Crest was the 200. So 200 out of a total of 250 preferred Crest. So that's writing it out in words, and then writing it in fraction form would be 200 over 250. Now reduce the fraction that we got into lowest terms and write the result in words. And so we want to find the largest number that will divide both 200 and 50. And actually we can do one simplification pretty quickly there and write it as 20 over 25, and then it's a little bit easier to reduce from there. Both 20 and 25 are divisible by 5, and so 20 divided by 5 is 4, and 25 divided by 5 is 5. So this reduces down to 4/5. So that would be the 4 out of 5. So 4 out of 5 dentists prefer Crest. So again, this is going over what a proportion is. A proportion is two equivalent ratios. In fraction form, a proportion is written as A over B equals C over D, and that's doing it in general. Suppose that Procter & Gamble had interviewed 600 dentists and reported that 4 out of 5 of the 600 dentists preferred Crest. However, the report did not say how many dentists in the survey preferred Crest. Let X represent the number of dentists who preferred Crest. Write a ratio of the number of dentists who preferred Crest to the number of dentists who were in the survey. So X is going to represent the number of dentists who preferred Crest, and that's what we want first, or on top. And then on the bottom, we want the number of dentists that were surveyed, and we surveyed 600 dentists. So that would give us the ratio X over 600. According to the report, the ratio in part A must be equivalent to 4/5, so now we're going to write the corresponding proportion, and so it would be X over 600. That's the ratio of the actual number of dentists that preferred Crest over the number of dentists that were surveyed, and they're telling us that this needs to be equivalent to 4 out of 5, or 4/5. So we talked about this before, but one method for solving a proportion, which is two fractions that are equivalent to each other, is to cross multiply. And so that's taking the top of one fraction times the denominator of the other. And so that's what we're going to do here, and this box is just going over in general how this is done. And so if you have the proportion A over B equals C over D, then A times D equals B times C. And so this is called cross multiplying. So now we're going to use cross multiplication to solve the proportion that we got from up above. And so we're going to take x times 5. So that would be 5x. And it's equal to 4 times 600. So that gives us 5x equals 2400. And then to finish solving for x, we just have to divide both sides by 5. So we would get x is equal to 2400 divided by 5, and that gives us 480. So out of the 600 dentists that were surveyed, 480 of them said that they preferred Crest over other national brands. The best season for the New York Mets baseball team was in 1986 when they won 2/3 of the games they played and won the World Series, beating the Boston Red Sox. If the Mets played 162 games, how many did they win? So they won 2/3 of all their games, so that's the ratio of the number of wins divided by the number of games. And so we want to write another fraction, and this is going to be the number of wins on the top, just like our original ratio. And we're being asked how many games they won, and so our variable x is going to be the number of games they won, and on the bottom we're going to put their total number of games, which we were told was 162. And then to solve this, we're going to cross multiply. So we're going to have 2 times 162 is equal to 3x. And 2 times 162 gives us 324, and that's equal to 3x. And now we're going to divide both sides by 3. That gives us x is equal to, let me divide that by 3 quickly, and we get 108. So they won 108, oops, of their 162 games in 1986. During the economic recession, a company was forced to lay off 12 workers, representing 3/8 of its employees. How many workers had been employed before these layoffs? So the ratio of the layoffs was 3/8, and they tell us that 12 workers were laid off, and so that's the part of the workers that were laid off, so that's going to be our top number. And they are asking us to calculate how many workers had been employed before the layoffs, and so that's the total number of workers that they had in the beginning. And so that's going to be our variable x on the bottom now. So again, we're going to cross multiply to solve this. So we'll have 3x equals 8 times 12. That gives us 3x is equal to, and we'll just calculate 8 times 12 here. And that gives us 96. And then to finish solving, we divide both sides by 3, and that gives us x is equal to 32. So there were 32 workers or employees before the layoffs. In the next couple of examples, we're just going to be given a proportion and practice doing the cross multiplying to solve these. So we have 7/10 is equal to x over 24. We're going to cross multiply. So that will give us 10x equals 7 times 24. And that's 10x, and 7 times 24 gives us 168, and then we're going to divide both sides by 10, and that gives us x is equal to 16.8. In our next one, we have 9 over x equals 6 over 50. So again, we're going to cross multiply. 9 times 50 is equal to 6x, and 9 times 50 is 450. And then we're going to divide both sides by 6. So I'm just going to check my multiplication since I did it in my head there, and it is in fact 450, and then divide by 6 gives us 75. Next one, 2/3 equals x over 48. And so we're going to cross multiply again, giving us 2 times 48 is equal to 3x. And so 2 times 48 gives us 96 equals 3x. And then when we divide both sides of this by 3, we get x equals 32. In our next problem, we have 5/8 equals 120 over x. Again, we're going to cross multiply. That gives us 5x equals 8 times 120. And now 8 times 120 gives us 960. And then we want to divide both sides by 5. And so divide that by 5, and we get 192. In our last one of these, we have 3 over 20 equals x over 3,500. We're going to cross multiply. That gives us 3 times 3,500 equals 20x. 3 times 3,500 gives us 10,500 equals 20x, and then we're going to divide by 20. And so divide that by 20, and we get 525. And we just have a couple more word problems that we're going to run through here, so you get used to knowing how to set these up on your own. So as a volunteer for charity, you were given a job stuffing envelopes for an appeal for donations. After stuffing 240 envelopes, you were informed that you were 2/3 done. How many envelopes in total are you expected to stuff? So the 2/3 is the ratio of envelopes that we have finished already. And this is the part that we've stuffed already, the 240, so that goes on the top. And we want to figure out how many in total we're expected to stuff. So we get the proportion 2/3 equals 240 over x. And then we're going to cross multiply. So that would give us 2x equals 3 times 240. And 3 times 240 gives us 720, so we get 2x equals 720, and then we're going to divide by 2. So divide that by 2, and we get 360. So we are expected to stuff a total of 360 envelopes. And whenever you're doing word problems, you should always remember to answer them with a complete sentence. You are entertaining a group of 6 friends who are joining you to watch a figure skating competition, and everyone wants soup. The information on a can of soup states that 1 can of soup contains 2.5 servings. Use a proportion to determine the number of cans of soup to open so that all 7 of you have 1 serving of soup. So each can of soup has 2.5 servings. So 1 can of soup has 2.5 servings. So this is the number of cans of soup divided by the number of servings that we have. And so over here we're going to do the same thing. So the number of cans of soup that we need divided by the number of servings that we need. So we don't know how many cans of soup to open, but we know that we need 7 servings total. So this is the proportion that we need to solve. It's number of cans of soup divided by number of servings, and do the same setup over here. Number of cans of soup divided by the number of servings. And so we're going to cross multiply, and so we have 1 times 7, which is 7, is equal to 2.5x, and then we divide both sides by 2.5. And that gives us 7 divided by 2.5 gives us 2.8. You can't open an 8/10 of a can of soup, and so we need to open 3 cans of soup. So we need to open 3 cans of soup to feed 7 people. And that's the end of the lecture. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.